Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back. Happy 4th to all of you all. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I'm going to give you some updates on that. And of course, I'm going to try to bring you some life lessons in this video. And you guys know I love making these videos on hikes. So, with that, without a further ado, as some people would say, let's jump into it. Golfers only. Oh, okay. I didn't realize this was actually leading to a golf course. Okay, well, I'm actually trying to hike, but I guess this hike is intertwined with the golf course, and I didn't realize that the path that I was originally planning to take apparently leads you to a golf course and not a hiking trail like I had originally planned. So which way to go? All right, well, I guess we'll go this way for now and then turn back around, whatever. All right, so it's 4th of July, and it's the celebration of freedom for the U.S. or independence, right? We all know the history, right? So don't need to recap a whole history lesson on the U.S. You either learned it or you didn't, or you believe half of it and have your own opinions. But it made me think about, or it made me want to ask this question rather. And the question is, are you free? That's somebody's car you hear in the background. It's not gunshots. I don't know why people like to have that type of exhaust system in their car. It's not my preference, but hey, to each his own. But are you free? And for the time being, I'll answer for myself. I'll lead. No, I'm not free. Not financially, at least, right? And that's something that today made me think about. Is that, yeah, we do live in the land of freedom. Yeah, you can mostly say what you want to say and do what you want to do, relatively speaking. I mean, compared to somebody living in North Korea, we are free as free can get, right? I mean, compared to North Korea. So I'm not minimizing that or ignoring that fact. But more so what I'm talking about is personal freedom, financial freedom. Do you have the financial capital and reoccurring income? Because income's different from revenue, right? You can have revenue and still be broke because your expenses are too high. But I'm going to say reoccurring income. Do you have that to where you can do what it is that you want to do? Do you have the time freedom? Meaning you have the time to do what it is that you want to do. And for most of us, the answer right now is no. And let me break that down because, again, this channel is, I'm slowly starting to realize and narrow it down to understand that this channel is not for the masses, right? I could be wrong. Maybe one day it might grow to 1 million subscribers. But I'm thinking this channel is going to remain for a select few. Those of you that actually want a big life, and you can see they got houses down here too, that are willing to work for it, right? Because everybody, well, they really admit it now, everybody wouldn't mind, let's say, I'm not gonna say once, but I would say most people would not decline it if you were, let's say, a billionaire. Let's say if Oprah or Tyler Perry walked up, or whoever they respect, right? Maybe you don't like Trump, maybe you don't like Musk, but whatever multi-billionaire that you go, oh, that's commendable, that's respectable. You worked hard, and you are one of the few that made it in America, and you've taken advantage and done well for yourself, right? So whatever billionaire that you respect, don't hate, etc., you get what I'm saying? They walked up to any person in America today, good, bad, poor, in between, whatever, and said, hey, I'm gonna write you a check for $1 million or for $10 million. You know, it's a tax write-off for me. I'm sure it could help you out. I just need you to sign that you saying that you received this, and I'll get a tax deduction for it. I'd rather give it to you than give it to Uncle Sam, right? I would venture to say most people in America would not turn that down if they realized that there was no strings attached, that was legit. There's no surprises coming afterwards. They'd be like, wow, yeah, sign me up. Hold on a second, look at this. Isn't that crazy? They used to have electric trains here over 100 years ago. In 1912, electric trains was cutting edge technology. Look at that. Ain't that something to think about? And here we are 100 years later, still trying to push electric vehicles. As if it's some new technology, huh? But you read history, shows the first electric vehicles were introduced almost 100 years ago and just did not take off. Wasn't what people wanted. But anyways, back to the money. So most people, they would take that million, 10 million, whatever, right? And there was things that they would want to do, et cetera, et cetera. And so the reason I bring that up is because there are a certain group of people, usually impoverished, if you will, or poor, or people that live on government assistance, right? That they have time freedom, right? They don't have to work to have their basic needs met, meaning, they're not going to starve to death. They got food stamps, or they got a, small military retirement. And that's not to, because I served 9 years in the military, right? So I'm not discrediting those that have a military retirement at all. Please don't get that twisted, right? Because I did 9 years, so I have nothing but respect for the military. But what I'm pointing at is what I know. And that is, outside of maybe a few select officers or high E9s that did 30 years of service, right, and kept their debt very low, most of them got to work again, right? Or if they, how do you say it? If they don't work, then their quality of life is usually very, very low. It's not something that anybody is truly envious of, maybe outside of the time, right? So maybe some people will say, hey, man, speak for yourself. I wouldn't mind having $3,000-$4,000 a month coming in and not having to work out. I'd figure it out. I'd move to, Southwest Mississippi, or I'd go move to Timbuktu where I could, buy a mansion for $2 still, and, I'd make it work there, right? And so, those are the exceptions. But again, that's really not who this channel's for, right? Because so you got people that are, let's say, live in government housing, Section 8 projects, right? Like I said, military retirement, they got VA disability, etc. Old people on Social Security, right? So they've got a baseline, if you will, of resources. So they have quote unquote time freedom, but they don't really have the financial freedom, meaning they don't really have the financial income or wherewithal to really do what they want to do, right? Like they cannot go out and buy a new Mercedes-Benz just because they feel like it, right? They can't go out and purchase a new Lamborghini because they feel like it. Yeah, sure, everybody may not want a Lamborghini, but you want a new car, right? They can't fly first class. Yes, first class is better, right? They can't fly across the country whenever they feel like it. Just pick up a ticket and say, hey, let's go here, let's go there. Oh my gosh, what was it? NBA Finals, I don't know, just ended, right? So I don't know what's happening now, but let's say football season's coming up, right? Okay, hey, our favorite football team, preseasons is coming. We want to see the new draft picks and watch a game or two, go there and have a hot dog or pizza, right? Let's go do that. Let's fly out and see that, I don't know, whatever concert, it's the 4th of July. Hey, you know what? There's this cool fireworks show in Dubai, Brazil, wherever. Well, it's American holidays, so I don't know that those other places be celebrating. But you get what I'm saying. There's a cool festival somewhere that they would enjoy participating in, right? Or observing. They go, hey, yeah, for the 4th, we're going to go to such and such place and do whatever, right? That sounds cool. I don't have the funds to do that, right? So there's time freedom, there's financial freedom, and there's both, right? So there's some people that have financial freedom, meaning they have found a way to earn a lot of money, but they don't necessarily have time freedom, right? So a great example of that is your athletes, right? NFL players. I like the NFL, so we'll talk about football players. You're not going to be able to have 3 weeks vacation with Patrick Mahomes in the fall right now. Now he's worth probably 50 or 100 million right now, net probably, because that's coming to his bank accounts or whatever. But in November, you can't call Patrick Mahomes up and say, "Hey man, let's go hang out for 2-3 weeks for Thanksgiving," or hey, let's go take a vacation in December, right? That's the summertime somewhere else in the world. Let's go hang out for a couple weeks. Now he has the money to, no doubt. He's got the money to, no doubt about that. But he doesn't have the time, right? Now what do I mean by that? It's working time, right? He's an NFL player. It's the middle of the season. He can't take off. Now he might be able to fly to Miami for a weekend. He might be able to fly to Puerto Rico for the weekend, right? Maybe on his off week, he might be able to spend a few days in wherever part of the world, but he's got a very short window because he's got to get back and prepare for the next week, for the next game, right? So he has financial freedom, does not have time freedom. And then there's a select few that have both, right? They have the time to do what they want to do, and they have the financial resources to do what they want to do. And typically those are either business owners, people that have sold their businesses for multiple, 8 or 9 figure, investors, right? And some combination thereof, a business owner / investor, right? Typically. And then, there's a few that, I would say even athletes too, but they have just made a really high income, right? And then over the years, either saved it up or invested it wisely, and now they're able to live off that nest egg that they built via investments, right? But to me, that is the ultimate freedom, if you will, in America, is to be able to have the time, and I'll also say health as well too, to be able to have the time to do what it is that you want to do, to have the financial income or resources to live how you want to live. And understand me, I'm not talking about settling, right? There's a difference between saying, you know what, I could buy a trailer for nearly a double wide trailer for $50,000 or $100,000, pay that cash, move in, buy me a $50,000, I don't know, a Honda Accord, right, fully loaded, and say, hey, I'm living a life. I got a $100,000 trailer, paid cash. I got a Honda Accord, paid off. It's brand new. It'll last for 1 million miles. And, all I need is, just enough to cover my food. I don't eat out. I cook at home. And, I can drive everywhere because I got the time to, right? That may be someone's version of freedom, but that's not who this channel's for, right? You can go backpack and be a camper and, live out of the back of a van and just work little odd and end jobs here and there as you backpack across the U.S. or backpack across the globe. That's not who this channel's for, right? Let me paint a picture for you. I'm talking, okay, you have a desirable home, i.e. your dream home, maybe multiple homes, right? You didn't get the cheapest house that you could afford. You actually live in the house that you wanted. You actually live in the house that you're proud of. You actually live in the house that you're excited to invite guests over so they can see how you're living. Or maybe you don't want guests because you feel like they might ask you for money because you live it so nice, right? But either way, it's a house that is desirable to you, right? Maybe a gated neighborhood, right? Worth a couple $1,000,000, right? It's built recently. And when I say recently, within the past 10 years, or it's been renovated recently within the past 10 years. It's over 2,000 square feet, right? So you got some square footage. You got a couple car garage that you can park your cars, and you got your dream cars if that's what you're into, right? But if you're not into cars, you at least got the cars that you want. One that's comfortable. You got a pickup truck for utility purposes when you do need one, right? And then you have the ability to travel, right? You fly first class everywhere. And every month or every other month, you're flying. When you fly, again, it's first class. If you can't afford chartering jets, I'm not going to add chartering jets there because not everybody wants that, and that's a huge difference. But flying first class, okay, we'll put that in there, is acceptable. And when you stay somewhere, you stay in a nice hotel. Maybe it's not necessarily the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton, but you're staying at the Embassy Suites, right? You're staying at the Homewood Suites or Hampton Inn Suites, right? You're getting the full bedroom when you stay. Now, you're not getting just a regular hotel room. You're getting the room with the kitchen and bathroom and bedroom, separate bedroom and living room in your hotel room, right? Something that's at room service there, right? You staying at places that have room service, you know? And when I say room service, I'm talking about food. I'm not talking about housekeeping, right? Don't mistake the two. Not housekeeping, but room service, right? That's where you stay. And when you travel, you actually go out to eat. You actually go to the event. You actually go to the show, you know? Sorry, these two guys with the bike and the skates is trying to tell them so they don't crash into each other. But anyways, yeah, so when you go, you actually go out to eat, right? And maybe you're health conscious, so you're like, well, you know, but you dine at the appropriate restaurants, or you're able to make the proper accommodations ahead of time because you're like, hey, look, you know, I'm gonna pay for a meal prep from this place, or I'm gonna buy 1 week's meal prep from that place, or you know what, I'm gonna do smoothies, or you know, I'm gonna go to this restaurant or whatever, or I'm gonna talk to the hotel staff, have the chef make this special dish for me, right? But you can afford those accommodations, right? You can pay for the local gym. That way you're not getting off your workout routine, or you're still able to get a workout in or whatever, right? So you're actually living your life as you travel rather than making trade-offs, right? Which is the number one sign that you're not financially free, is when you're making trade-offs. And we all do it. I'm guilty of it right now, right? I don't live that way yet, but I'm painting a picture for you so that you can see that, hey, this life exists. It's real. And I'm sharing that because I feel that sometimes we celebrate the country's freedom, but we don't spend enough time thinking about our own personal freedom, right? And so I told you all that, you know, I've been away for a couple of weeks and I'm working. So not necessarily that I'm sick or anything like that, but just working. Life's lifing. But I wanted to share with you what I've been learning over the past couple of weeks, because I was in Nashville, Tennessee. A gentleman by the name of Bernie Gallerani. If you're in real estate, you may or may not know him, but long story short, this guy is one of my mentors from afar, one of the gentlemen that I look up to, earning close to 7 figures every month, if not over, right, depending on the market and what's going on, but close to 7 figures a month. And this guy started off as a real estate agent just like myself, right, you know, making a couple $100,000 a year, and built it from there, built his business up from there. Got a loving family, Christian man. And so I really respect the gentleman. And he had an event at his place, so I went there. Uh, I've met him before, but I'm not at a level just yet where I would consider him a friend or an associate, but I can ask him questions. And to me, that's really dope. But being there, it showed me something about exposure that I hadn't really thought of before or really connected the dots to before. Or I guess I did, but not in the way that I'm about to share with you now. So, we've all heard, you're the average of your 5 best friends, show me your friends, blah, 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 and I'll, show you yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Oh, thanks. Show me your friends. I'll show you, who you are. If you hang around a bunch of millionaires, you're bound to be the 6th one, right? You hang around 5 millionaires, right? You all heard that before. But I've always shared that, about exposure or visiting your dreams, right? So I've always, and I've done this on some of the videos already. If you go back and look, I've taken you to beautiful neighborhoods, showing you nice homes, showing you the car dealerships and things like that. I haven't done jewelry yet or watches. I probably need to. But the point is, I went there to Nashville, and I'm looking around because he's in a place called Henderson, which is just a suburb like on the outskirts of the Nashville, Tennessee greater area, Nashville, right? And it's country, it's Cowtown, USA. I mean, I think 2-3 years ago, guys out there plowing this field where there's neighborhoods are now, right? So it's still really a developing city. And I'm looking around and I'm like, wow. I'm even more impressed by the guy, right? Because I mean, this is Cowtown, USA, I mean, Nashville's a big city, don't get me wrong. Country capital of the US, right? Country music capital. But that suburb of Henderson, I mean, that thing ain't no different than rural Alabama. I mean, it's country, it's slow. It's big old fields. And I'm like, man, how does a guy living there figure out how to make $1 million? 1, a year. 2, how does he get to $1 million a month? Right? What inspires him? What drives him? Because I mean, I'm telling you, this is a place where it looks like maybe $200,000-$300,000 a year, and you're in tall cotton. I mean, you're the king of the jungle. What would take you to wanting to exceed $200,000 or $300,000 a month, let alone a year, right? And it was exposure, staying inspired, right? Reading books. And for me, for the longest time, I've been going to places where I've been going to certain neighborhoods, going to certain houses. I've lived a certain lifestyle myself, which I don't really show on social media because I'm from a generation that existed before social media. So I never grew up with needing to post everything I do or don't do, right? So, it's just never been me. I don't think that ever will be me, right? I've never been the one to go on vacation or buy a new car or buy a new outfit and need to post it and share it with my followers. I've always had a mindset of, hey, you know me, you know what it is that I got, I don't have. And if you don't know me, then, you're going to get the information I put out on the channel, and that's it. But if you can't, well, I'm not going to say if you can't, but I'm going to say if you don't have my number to call and text me, because I've had the same number for 20 years, then you don't really need to know that personal information. Hey, look, check out how this deer is blended in. You see, can I see? Look at that. Look at Bambi. Look how well he just blends in on the trail. Ain't that something? It's pretty dope. Right there too. He thinks we can't see him. Oh look, there go a little deer too. Isn't that so cool? Dang. Look at that. They just cool too. They don't think we can see them. Or maybe they just know we stay on the trail. Look at that. Mm-hmm. They just looking at us like, hey, what's up? I'm looking at them. Word. And they're like, hey, you supposed to walk on by. Or I think they just trying to establish whether I'm a threat or not. Well, the mama deer's like, hey, we'll move on. But yeah, back to being expired. So, looking at, I guess, how he was living, seeing how his business goes. And one of the things that, I've always heard Bernie talk about, but I kind of missed it, was he said in the beginning, he would go and visit all the top agents around the country. And he would sit down and, work with them with a day or two, like in their office, like, and, in person, he shared with me, he's like, hey, they weren't always welcoming of him coming to their office. He was like, it wasn't always an open door invitation, right? He was like, sometimes, he would call agent up and they would be like, he'd be like, yeah, I'm coming anyways, And so he was kind of bold, kind of aggressive, kind of determined, right? Kind of forcing his way in. And I thought that was so interesting because what I realized by going to see his office and see how he operated, well, not him necessarily, but his agents, was that there's another level of exposure beyond just going to the nice house, going to see the nice car, going to the dealership, renting a certain type of house, let's say, or, let's say you can go on a vacation to Airbnb or something, and you choose a, big mansion to stay in. You decide you're going out of town, you jump on Turo and you grab a particular vehicle that you're interested in buying, right? That's one level of exposure, right? But there's a new level that I, quote unquote, unlocked, if you will, or just, it was there, but I didn't pick up on it till recently, was that you need to start seeing other people in your field or similar field doing their day-to-day, right? And so I liken it to athletes. I think I just heard, was it Wilt Chamberlain? Forgive me, I can't remember exactly who it was, I don't know if it was Wilt Chamberlain or Dr. J with the J. But there was this Hall of Fame basketball player and NBA player, retired obviously. I'm talking about a 80s superstar, 1970s, 1980s superstar, basketball player, retired in the Hall of Fame. Guys pay him $50,000 to work out with them. I'm gonna say it again. This is an NBA player. Forgive me, I can't remember his name, but you can Google it if you need to know who it is. He charges current NBA player. I'm not talking about yesteryear. I'm talking about today, right now, 2025. He charges guys $50,000 to work out with him. And it's like, why would somebody pay that? It's because of his accomplishments, right? It's because of the little techniques, the little details, the little insider secrets that he can give you to help you maybe potentially be a Hall of Famer. Maybe to score an extra couple of points, right? To win the championship, right? Maybe give you a different outlook on how to train, how to look at preparing for the game that you didn't know before that could elevate you or just give you that extra little edge over your competitor. It's worth it, right? And what I realized is that on this path, on this journey to becoming, because we're always becoming, no matter how successful we are and no matter how unsuccessful we are, that the level of exposure has to include visiting the top players in your chosen field today. right? Going to see your competitors today. And it actually reminds me, because I missed it, but I've read the autobiography of Sam Walton, right? Founder of Walmart, if you didn't know. And one of the things that I took away from his book, from his autobiography on himself, was that he always was asking questions. Now, let me break that down further. What I mean by always asking questions is that he always visited other retail stores no matter where he went, not just Walmart, right? He went to Kmart, he went to Sears, he went to JCPenney, he went to whatever discount store he could find, whatever city he went, whether he's on vacation with his family, whether he's in town for business, doesn't matter. He always went to other retail stores. And he always tried to get in touch with the manager, try to get in touch with the owner, try to get in touch with the CEO. And then when he found who that person was, he would berate them. And when I say berate may not be the word, might be the correct word, because berate would be kind of a negative connotation to it. But he would just badger them. He would just bombard them with questions, right? And I mean, he would ask so many questions that by the time they're done, it was like he could write the blueprint to how they operate their business. And he did this everywhere he went. And he did this his entire life. This wasn't even, this wasn't a one-time thing or, until he reached, 100 million or whatever. No, he did this his entire life. It was who he was, right? The way we think of some ladies love shopping for handbags, the way we think a bodybuilder loves protein shakes or loves getting, getting a couple extra pumps or curls in, right? Or loves walking past the mirror, just, admire that. He was infatuated with figuring out what other people were doing, his competition. And what I realized is that it did a couple of things. For one, I'm sure not everybody was as impressive as you might imagine, right? They probably had impressive business. But when you meet the person who created it, you go, you? You did this? Now you got to be kidding me, right? I was expecting a bit more. And two, I'm sure he probably got a lot of solutions to his business problems just from seeing how others did theirs and said, oh man, I never thought of that, right? And then three, he was able to pivot or have a competitive edge because he knew exactly what his competitors was doing. And so for me, I see it as, for when we're talking about exposure, seeing other great agents in their environment, for one, you go, wow. It makes the work that you do seem more real, if that makes sense. It goes, okay, because when you're by yourself, I'll say, or you're isolated, if you will, as you typically are when you're trying to build a $1 million business or multi-million-dollar business outside of, obviously your employees that you may or may not have, you're pretty much alone, right? There's not a big, okay, pick whoever is a popular rap artist or whatever. And let's say they're like, hey, for the 4th of July, guys, I'm throwing a concert. Tickets are $10 because I want to give back. Pull up. And we're going to donate all the money to whatever cause that people are, passionate about right now. You know how many thousands of people would show up for that favorite rapper or artist? A lot. But now, I want you to say, hey, the 4th of July, guys, we're going to have this amazing networking event. We're going to cater, free food would bring people. But let's say day after the 4th or the 4th of July weekend, We're gonna have this networking event at this hotel conference room, right? Um, there's gonna be several multimillionaires in the room. There's gonna be a lot of people that are working to try to become millionaires in their field, and we're all gonna exchange ideas, share best practices and strategies. How many people do you think are actually gonna show up to that? Right? If there's not a Grant Cardone or a Tony Robbins or a Gary V, right? If there's not a Les Brown attached to it, right? Nobody's really gonna show. And I only bring it up to say that, you know, the path to trying to become a multimillionaire, it's kind of a lonely journey, right? And so when you're doing the work that you believe that you should be doing, you know, obviously you should have a coach and everything, but that work, the boring repetitions, whatever that stuff is, because there's some unsexy to business, no matter what anybody, no matter the business, there's some unsexy to it, right? I have a guy that I know that used to work for the Boston Celtics, right? He was a media guy. He used to work for the Boston Celtics. And this is back when they had, I think it was the big three, right? Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and they had Rajon Rondo, and all those guys, right? When they was, you know, in the final or the conference championship every year, right? They was 1 or 2 games away from getting to the finals, right? And then they would get to the finals, and maybe they might win, maybe they would lose, but they were like every year deep playoff run, right? They were only a game or two, a shot or two away from winning an NBA championship every single season, right? That's when he was there. And one of the things that shocked me was he shared that the best players, the superstars of the game, and they were there. Like I said, we talking Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, you know what I'm saying? He said every day after practice, right? So this is after mandatory practice, these guys would stand there and do a regular dribble with the ball 100 times with the left hand, 100 times with the right hand. No going between the legs, no behind the back, no fancy dribble, just a straight up and down, boring dribble. That they would stand at the free throw line and shoot 100 shots in a row. They would go around the three-point line, shoot another 1,000 shots. And they would do this every day after practice. He said that's what the great ones did. And I thought, wow. I thought they would have been practicing a jump shot or a magic shot or behind the, you know, back dunk or a no-look pass or something. He was like, nah. They practice the basics, the fundamentals every day after practice, over and over again. 1,000 shots, couple hundred dribbles, left hand, couple hundred dribbles, right hand, couple hundred dribbles, walking down the court, couple hundred dribbles, you know, left hand drop, walking down the court, couple hundred dribbles, walking down the court, right hand, right? Shooting at the free throw line, couple hundred shots, back to back, in a row. And I'm like, wow, isn't that something? And I can imagine being a young guy, a rookie, especially if you never trained with professionals, right? Or been around elite level players. You could just think, you know what? I got this, you know, talent that's gotten me here. And let's say a coach or somebody tells you to do, hey man, you know, I need you to take 100 shots like this, 100 shots like that. I need you to, you know, do these dribbles. And I can imagine being a young, cocky, and I'm not even saying in a bad way, but just a young, you know, confident, little bit of swagger, right? A little bit of, you know, I have arrived, rookie in the NBA, and going like, man, that's a little bit beneath me, homie. Like, you know, like we just won the NCAA championship, right? I was the MVP of the game, and you telling me you want me to sit around and dribble the ball 100 times each hand after practice? You want me to, you know, practice 1,000 shots after practice? Like, what? That sounds boring and basic as ever. I got better things to do, you know? And I could see someone having that attitude, that mindset. And I don't think that I would blame him for it, right? But what if you saw Steph Curry doing it, right? And forgive me, I don't know all the current stars of the NBA like I used to because it's just fell off dramatically since Kobe. But what if you, let's say, this is back in the day, let's say, what if you saw Kobe Bryant doing it? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if you go back in time and you saw Michael Jordan and you saw him doing it? You know what I mean? Like, what if you went and, what's the kid that is always showing guns from South Carolina? I can't remember the guy's name. Ja Morant. Yeah, that's his name. What if you saw Ja Morant doing it? He's like, man, this guy's got a $200 million contract. And then all of a sudden you went somewhere else and you see who's the tall dude that's in the Drake videos and all this stuff? Russell. Was it Russell Westbrook? No, it ain't Russell Westbrook. I can see the guy saying, but anyway, Russell Westbrook is not. What if you saw Russell Westbrook and he was doing it, right? And you see all these guys that you look up to whose names you know, and you're like, man, this guy, say what you want, but he's in the top 10 or top 20 players in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? You may not like him or you may not like his team or whatever, but he is one of the top 20 players in the NBA. That's why you know his name, right? Hey, look, there's a deer crossing. Did you see it? Oh, he's already gone. Okay. But what if you saw them taking shots every day after practice, dribbling every day after practice? All of a sudden, your coach asking you to do the same thing doesn't seem so crazy anymore, right? When you're doing it every day and you feel like it might be a little beneath you or it's a little too basic, all of a sudden you don't think that anymore because you've seen Steph Curry doing it. You've seen Kobe doing it, right? You've seen T-Mac doing it. You've seen Tracy McGrady doing it. You've seen the stars of the game doing this. And now you're like, okay, this is the secret, right? This is the work that nobody sees, right? This is the work that the fans don't see. They think it's just talent, right? They just think it's just God-given gifts. And to an extent, yeah, you can't make yourself be 6'5" or 6'6", right? But there's a lot of men that's 6'5", 6'6" that ain't never played a day in the NBA and they ain't never played a day in college ball, right? So that's only a part of it. Then you got to put the work in. And so I bring that story, or I use that example to show you that when you expose yourself to others that are winning in the same field as you at a higher level or on the same level as you in the same field, and you start traveling and seeing these guys work, it really changes your belief. It changes your vision. And oh man, it just opens your mind to say, wow, I can do this too. Oh, there they go, right there. It opens your mind up to say, I can do it too. And all of a sudden, you stop asking yourself, hey, can I do this? Do I have what it takes? Does it work in my market? Maybe that strategy worked 5 years ago, but I don't know. It's a different day now. They got AI now. They got ChatGPT now, right? YouTube's algorithms change, right? Instagram's change, or Meta bought Instagram, right? Or whatever, right? Or Trump's president now, So whatever excuse you might have thought or exterior, now it removes all of that, and you're like, no. Right, this is not a guy I saw on YouTube, right? This is not a gal who I saw her reel on Instagram, right? This is a man. This is a woman that I shook hands with. I touched, right? I had lunch with, breakfast with, right? I sat in their office. I saw it for myself, right? We're all kind of like Doubting Thomases to an extent with our dreams, right? We need to finger the whole, right? We need to see, right? We need to touch to believe. right? Some of us, most of us, right? There's a few that can operate by blind faith and keep doing it. But a lot of us, hey, we need a little bit of social proof, right? Because we've never seen it before, right? If you're like me, you never grew up around or met someone, knowingly at least, that was worth $100 million, right? You never actually spent time with someone talking about it as far as someone that was making $1 million a year or more and actually talking to them one-on-one and saying, hey, what are you doing to earn this million? How are you doing to do that, right? Outside of obviously entertainers, right? And I always lump athletes as entertainers, right? So obviously, yeah, we know Tony down the street that can jump out the gym and, outrun everybody at the local high school. He went on to play pro ball. And when he comes back and he knows you because y'all went to high school together, yeah, we know him. We all know that guy, right? And we can go to the barbecue on the 4th that he pays for everybody, right? We all know him, but we know we can't do what Tony does, right? Tony's got that gift. But I'm talking about David, right? I'm talking about David the nerd. Well, I'm talking about David the guy out of high school that we go, yeah, he was cool, yeah, we see him in the hallways. But there was nothing that stood out about him that was like, oh my gosh, David's gonna just do something spectacular in life. It was like, no, we all graduated. We all was going to college, and we were just all curious to see what would come of it. And then all of a sudden, boom, now David's a multimillionaire, right? We don't know that person. Or at least if you're like me, I didn't grow up around that. So, traveling and seeing people that do it and see what they do on a daily basis, oh man, it changes the game. And when you see behind the scenes, oh, it's a life changer. Because now you go, wow, this is really possible. And so that's really how I felt afterwards when I saw Bernie's office. I saw his agents working. And I'm like, man, I'm on the right path. But it just made me realize, like, wow, one day I too can have my name on the office, as far as outside the office, right? One day I too could have my name on a van and people are driving, maybe they're buyers around whatever, in a Sprinter van for showings or showing their exclusive clientele luxury properties, picking them up in a Sprinter van, right? Could I one day too could have $100,000, couple $100,000 watch on my wrist on a random Thursday of the week that I wear to work or wear to the office. You see what I'm saying? So it really, really opens your eyes and kind of solidifies your belief. And so I want to share with you that whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is you decided that you want to make your millions or your, $500,000 with, go and visit the top people in that field that have already accomplished what it is that you want to accomplish. Bang their door down, email them, call them, show up to their office like Bernie said. Call them, tell them you're coming. If they hem and haw, just go anyway, right? Just show up. Say, hey, man, and if you got to pay, right? I told you, the NBA players, they pay $50,000 to work out with a with a Hall of Famer, right? That's from the league, right? They pay $50,000 for one workout. And what's a workout? 2-3 hours tops, right? How much is that per minute? I don't care to do the math, but do it. What? 50,000 divided by 180, right? That's 3 hours. What is that per minute? Or per hour, however you want to break it down, right? And so it matters. And it's going to help you. And it's going to shorten the process, and it's going to expedite your growth, and it's going to explode your growth because now you just upped your ceiling, right? We all have an invisible ceiling. You know, they say the sky's the limit, but there's, footsteps on the moon. But is the moon as far as it can go? Because right now Elon Musk is trying to get to Mars, right? And I guarantee you, the world continues on long enough, somebody will be trying to get to Pluto, right? Once we figure out if the Lord will allow us to get to Mars, then the next person will be trying to get to Pluto, right? Or Uranus, or Mercury, or whatever, or Saturn, right? Somebody will be trying to get to a star. You know what I'm saying? Like, it sounds crazy, and it is crazy, but so was going to the moon. That was crazy. So was living in outer space in a space station. That was crazy. That was insane, right? The very cell phone that I'm holding 100 years ago, that was absolute insanity, right? Heck, just 200 years ago, flying on an airplane was absolute insanity. That was madness, right? So we all have this quote unquote invisible ceiling when it comes to financial income that we can produce or create or generate, right? And it's just a limiting belief. But their exposure to people that are already doing it, that you can touch, see, feel, have, food with, right? You can ask questions, you can reach out, you can go maybe hang out with on the holiday, right? You can go to a game together, right? You can go to a business conference. Guys, in July, well, now it is July, so later this month, I'm going to a real estate conference. And there's probably gonna be about 2,000 people in that room, thereabouts, give or take a little bit. But the reason I'm going there is because of the people in the room. Obviously, the guy on stage and the agents that are gonna be on stage that I'm gonna hear their interviews and hear their stories. I'm gonna take that home. But I'm also going because of the people in the room that I'm going to meet and interact with. They're going to be multi-millionaires. And when I say multi, I'm talking 9 figures, 8-figure. I'm not even going to say net worth, because I'm not talking about somebody that manages, a $50 million portfolio of real estate and they've just put, maybe $5 million down, and the portfolio as a whole, if it was paid off cash, is worth 50 million, but really they put 5 and they owe, 45, but technically they got, $50 billion. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that for 4, 5, 7 years straight have earned $3, 4, 5 million dollars a year and invested it, right? I'm talking people that's been working for 30 years, making north of $1 million a year for 20 plus years, right? I'm talking about people with employees, if you will, right? Now, obviously, I'm talking real estate, so a realtor is not an employee, but I'm talking about people that are on their team, that are in their brokerage. They have, quote unquote, people on their team that earn net $1 million a year. So you're talking about you and I just trying to earn $1 million a year or $1 million a month, right? But which first gotta get to $1 million a year, right? But now imagine having employees, or imagine having other people under your tutelage earning $1 million. Guess who you gotta be to have people under you earning a net of $1 million a year? Guess how much you gotta be earning? Guess who you gotta be? Right? Those people are going to be in that conference. So that's why I go, because I love touching them. I love seeing them. I love meeting them. I love hearing the little things that they did when they were at my level, right? Like Bernie shared with going to see the other agents. I didn't come up with that idea of my own. I got that from him. And he was the first person that I went to go visit, and he has an agent in his office, young lady by the name of Elisa. And she is on pace to do about $1.2 million this year, 2025. The girl's not even 30 years old yet, by the way. Now, don't kid yourself. She's been doing this for 9 years, so she's not old fly by night, right? But she's not even 30 years old, and she's going to earn $1.2 million in Cowtown, Henderson, right? So seeing someone like that, right? Seeing her dream board up close and personal at her office as she's making calls, it's like, wow, what I'm doing is the right path. What I'm doing is working. So I want to encourage you guys that if you don't have the success that you want just yet, start finding those who are on the same path or just a little bit further ahead. Go start visiting them. Start flying around the country. Make it a goal maybe once a quarter to say, hey, I'm going to find a top, in my case, it would be top realtor, right? I'm going to find a top realtor somewhere in the U.S. and I'm going to go spend a weekday. You understand me now? A weekday. But if it can't be a weekday, make it a weekend, but you have to see the lifestyle, right? You have to see something. And what I mean by that is if you're going there with the intent to, like kids in school, right? They do this, right? You job shadow somebody for a day, right? That's what you're doing. You're job shadowing them. Or if you're not going to be able to job shadow them, then we need to see the lifestyle. I need to see your car, right? I need to see the house, right? I need to go out to lunch, dinner with you, right? But I'm not talking Wendy's and McDonald's, right? I want you to go to Ruth Chris or Maggio or wherever you go where you spend $500 at dinner and don't bat an eye. That's what I'm talking about, right? Because this is exposure to open your mind. And it's like a rubber band. Once you expand it, it can never contract to the same size, right? And your brain's that way. So once you do this, you're just gonna be like, wow. Wow. Like I thought it was that and that. And really what it's gonna do is it's gonna remove the magic. It's gonna remove the mystique. It's gonna remove your dreams and your goals from this esoteric place where you go, that would be nice, right? Especially if you've already reached a certain level of success, right? I got a friend of mine now. He was formerly a school principal. And a couple years ago, he said, hey, man, my goal's 4 or 5 years. I want to be out of the school system, man. I see this and that. I don't agree with it. Plus, I'm not really making that much. I got a small cleaning business that's doing all right. I got a couple of real estate investments. And, I kind of want to get out of the education system. He's a principal, right? He's already having a certain level of success, right? Most people would congratulate him. Most people will congratulate him for being that. And he's like, hey, man, I want to go to the next level. And I shared with him, I said, hey, man, I don't know if you're open to it, but you can make some money with real estate. And he's like, really? You can? I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, you got what it takes. He's like, I've done it. You can do it. And this was a couple years ago, guys. So maybe 2023 or 2024. And at that time, you guys know, the market lately has not been fantastic, to say the least, right? It's not a easy real estate market. I'll put it that way. Like it's not a market. It's not a seller's market where you can just put a sign in the yard, collect 10 offers, choose the one that meets your needs the best, and then, boom, you're done, right? It's a market where you actually got to work. By the time I say, hey, man, you can do this. And he was like, okay. Now, some of the people around him who haven't had a success in real estate, right, they gave him fear, right? They said, ooh, I don't know. Real estate, you're a school principal, right? The market right now, man, they might elect President Trump, right? Joe Biden's president. Oh my gosh. Ooh, I don't know if I would take that jump right now. It's not safe. Right? Some of those people said that to him. People that loved him, cared about him. I told him, I said, hey man, don't listen to that noise. You can make money whether it's Trump or whether it's Kamala as president. It doesn't matter, right? In the big picture, it really doesn't matter. You can make money in both. Just like your job, right? No matter who the president is, you still gonna show up to work Monday through Friday, right? And expect to receive a paycheck, regardless of who becomes president. Am I right? Or am I not? Okay, so same thing with real estate. You put in certain inputs, you're gonna get certain outputs, regardless. So he took the leap of faith. He trusted me, put in that work. Now that guy's on track to do 30 transactions this year. Now, let me put that in perspective for you. 50% of realtors don't even sell one house in a year. He's on track to do 30 this year, and he's just getting started. But why? It's because the exposure. Now, understand, in his head, he already wanted to leave being a principal 5 years ago, probably. But he wasn't quite sure how to do it. So he was, like we all do, he's trying to figure it out. He's kind of fumbling here, there, kind of getting a little traction there, taking 2 steps, falling back 1 step. Like he was making, progress. But then it was exposure. I'm his friend. We grew up together. It took, maybe 1 or 2 conversations to show him, hey, man, if you do A, B, C, D, you'll get this result. And then all of a sudden, he did that. And now he's on pace to do 30 sales this year. And you can do the math, count whatever average home price is in your city, do 3% commission on that, and let's say even if you did 50% of that, so you do, let's say, just for easy math, let's say you're doing a $200,000 home, right? 3% commission on $200,000 home, $6,000. You do 6,000 times 30. Do the math on that, right? Even if you did 3,000 times 30, do the math on that, right? That's okay. So, and he's in a very low cost living area, guys, right? So if he lived in a higher cost living area, it would be $1 million homes, right? And he would be doing $30,000 checks, and he would be throwing $30,000 checks times 30. So you do the math on that, right? That's the type of level of production that he's doing. But it all came from exposure, right? He had the desire, he had the ambition, he had the dream, he already had the goal. But it was just that small conversation. And he's got access to the same YouTube videos and Instagram gurus like you all do, right? We all got it. But it wasn't until he had that small conversation with an actual human being, someone that he actually trusted, someone that he actually knew, that he took action. And man, where's that guy going to be in 2 or 3 years and 5 years? And I shared that with you to say, I didn't tell him anything magical. I didn't show him, per se, anything that he probably hadn't already seen. I helped him with his belief. And guys, I used to be the biggest person that, was like, yeah, this belief, this mindset, this, tell me what to do. Tell me the skills that I need to learn. But I have learned that those experts were right. It was not about, it's not as much about the skill as much as it is about the will, right? I think Eric Thomas has a book called Average Skill, Phenomenal Will. And it's true. And your exposure to people that are doing it or just a few levels above you, it's going to really help you see that it is that phenomenal will, that it is just that belief that you really are sitting in your own Lamborghini. You really are sitting in your own private jet, and you just got the brakes on. That's why you can't go anywhere. You don't necessarily, quote unquote, need to become somebody different. Well, to an extent, yes, you do need to become somebody different, but it's not something that's not already inside of you. You just need to bring it out of you. Or it's just certain muscles in yourself that you just need to build. That's it. I liken it to lifting weights, right? Maybe today you can't bench press 315 pounds. Maybe today you can't squat 400 pounds. But we could put a plan together that within a year, 2 years, if you're a strong, healthy man, right? And I would say under the age of 60, maybe 70, because I see guys even in their 60s still squatting 400 or 500 pounds. But if you're in that age group and you're a real relatively healthy man, we could put a plan together to get you able to bench press 300 pounds and squat 400 pounds. Well, you already have the body, right? You already have the health per se, but we just need to change a few of your habits and a few of your disciplines to be able to get you to produce that type of result with your body and to develop and to build your muscles to be able to handle that type of weight. And finance is no different. We just need to change a few of your skills, a few of your disciplines, and we just got to get you to believe that you can quote unquote bench press that 315 pounds. We just got to get you to believe that you can deadlift 400 pounds within a year or two. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week, but if you follow this plan that you will get there. And that's what the exposure to others, I have learned, will really help accelerate that process, because now you'll stop, I want to say, well, yeah, I'm gonna say you're gonna stop fighting the process where most people quit. And that's because there's a place where most people quit, and that's where it gets boring, or that's where you don't get the immediate results. That's where most people quit, right? Everybody, we all know, they start the gym plan on the first or whenever they say they think they want to lose weight, and then within 2 months, 3 months, maybe they do lose it, but they can't sustain the weight loss, right? Or they don't even continue long enough to even see the weight loss. They quit and they just keep yo-yoing back and forth, but they've been wanting to lose weight for years, right? And the same thing with finances, right? But visiting those people, getting around that exposure, it would really help you cement your belief in what it is that you're doing. And so, guys, that's really my gem I want to share with you, because if you're not free personally, then I think that is a great goal to work towards. Because for most of us, if you're not personally free, financially free, the way I described earlier in the video, you're going to spend the next 30, 40, possibly 50 years of your life working for money. So you might as well figure out how to get financially free, because then you get your time back, and then you can go do what you think is important in life rather than spending 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day just giving your time away for money. And that's also you as a business owner, and I wouldn't even say as a business owner, but that's also you being self-employed, where maybe you are making great revenue, right? Maybe you're making $500,000 a year. Maybe you're making $700,000 a year already, but that requires you to spend 40, 60 hours a week or 100 hours a week at a place, or, committed to a task to produce the results. And I'm telling you, there is a way that you can spend maybe 10 hours a week, maybe 20 hours a week, and produce the same results and have way more time freedom and location freedom too, where you're not stuck to one place to have to make that money. I'm telling you that life exists. I've met the men, I've met the women, I've met the families that live this. And that's what I'm working towards. So everything that I learned on the journey, I'm gonna share with you all. And as I get there, I'm obviously gonna share with you all. So if you like this video, please subscribe, hit the like button, share. If you have questions, comments on it. If you want to meet up, if you want to maybe have a one-on-one conversation, I'm open to that as well. Because again, this is a lonely path per se, but it's only lonely for a short period of time, guys. And when I say a short period of time, there's a gap somewhere between 300,000 and I would say $1 million a year income. And you know, obviously, when I say a million, we're talking 800,000, 900,000, right? You're close there. Nobody's kicking you out the room because you're not at a million exactly yet, right? You're making 800,000. You know, nobody's looking down on you. But there's a gap between that 300 and that million because it's two different levels, there's two different skill sets. And so when you make that half a mil, typically, especially like if you're like me, like most of us, you're coming from a place where you were told $50,000 a year was a lot of money, or earning six figures, earning $100,000 a year was a lot of money. So now for you to earn $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, you're the top dog in your room. And so now you're the top dog in your room, but you're just now finding out that there's other rooms that you now have access to where you may not quite qualify to get in just yet, right? You're a top high school prospect, and now you're looking at colleges, but you may not even be able to start just yet, right? You might be on the bench for a year, right? They got Michael Jordan on the team. You know what I'm saying? They got Steph Curry on the team, right? So now you're coming in and you were the top high school prospect, but now you got Steph Curry and Michael Jordan on the team in college. It's a whole nother level, right? And so you're 500,000, there's rooms where there's people that's making, I told you, I'm looking at Bernie, the guy's making $1 million a month. So yeah, there's your 500,000 in your circle makes you the top dog. But then you get around someone like Bernie that's making $1 million a month. Man, bro, his taxes, his tax bill alone is more than your 500,000 income, right? And so now there's a slight gap in that room to where now that's where this exposure is so key, because if not, you'll either lock yourself at 500 or worse, you'll go back down to maybe 100 or 200 because, again, you're the top dog, so you don't have that drive anymore. But if you get around the right people, and that's where the exposure is so key to growing, then you'll see like, oh, wait a minute, there's another level, there's another thing, I can do this. Oh yeah, I can keep going. All right, so that's why the exposure is so important, guys. But I'm gonna wrap it up. Been long enough. Happy 4th to you all. And remember, you know, if you're not financially free, time free, have time freedom, location freedom, along with your health, then I highly recommend that that's something you start thinking about. And if you're not already executing or working on a plan to accomplish that, then you should get a plan ASAP. Because again, the next 30, 40 years, you're probably going to be working anyway if you don't have the financial freedom. So you might as well make it a goal and make it a priority in your life. All right, guys, till the next video, take care.